Welcome to This Is Scotland with the Scots Magazine.
I'm Coinneach MacLeod, the Hebridean Baker.
I'm Ali Heather.
And each week we're going to share stories of Scotland, our culture, our identity, and what makes it feel like home.
That's it. And wherever you are watching from, we are glad you're here.
Ali,
hello.
Great to see you. How are you?
Oh man, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. This is a great
me too.
idea.
I'm so excited about this. But how's your week been? What have you been up to?
Well, actually, I'm just back for the Isle of Bute. So I was over there for a wee work thing, but as you can yourself, like we travel about for work all around Scotland, and I just took the chance to extend my work stay from one quick visit to 3 days.
Did you do Mount Stewart?
I did. All the places I were desperate to visit there's a stone circle and St Blaine's Chapel. Stunning little, like the south of Bute is so beautiful. I don't think people realise how stunning it is. And then I went to Mount Stewart on foot. So walked up the coastline about 5-6 miles to Mount Stewart, which if folk haven't been there, just to kind of set the scene a little bit, it is like it belongs in Versailles. It is the most amazing, elaborate, expensive, sort of 50-foot high sandstone mansion overlooking the Straits of Bute, or the Kyles of Bute rather. And the carving is incredible. The expense on the interior, these marble staircases, they really belong somewhere like the Vatican. And it's so breathtaking to arrive. But I know you've been there.
I've been, and it's so special.
Oh.
You know, as all the West Coast is, of course.
Yes.
There's going to be some West Coast, East Coast rivalry going on here on this podcast.
Like Mount Stewart absolutely blew me away. It fair put me in mind of our broth.
There you go.
But no, it's like, so that was my crack away in Bute, just exploring and enjoying and having a great time over there. What about yourself?
Well, I took a wee bit of downtime. New book I'm reading at the moment. Douglas Stewart, the amazing Scottish author, Booker Prize winner. Mm-hmm. He's got a new book coming out in May called John of John, set on the Isle of Harris. He's left his Glasgow roots for Shuggy Bain and those books and headed north. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. No spoilers, but this book is going to just mesmerize every single reader. I'm so excited about it coming out. I'm excited because I'm hosting Douglas for one of his book events in Glasgow as well. So can't wait to chat to him about it too.
But see, obviously you're a strict Hebridean exclusionist. How does it feel having somebody come in and set a novel in your turf?
Honestly,
is there any cultural things you had to be aware of?
It's as if he's lived in the Hebrides his whole life. And what I love most and what I want to talk to him most when I'm chatting to him is the fact that even when people from the islands have written books about the islands, if they've said maybe a slang word or a Gaelic phrase, they felt obliged to explain it. He doesn't. If he's talking about coves and blows, if he is talking about a place, maybe a village, he just says it. He doesn't explain it. He'll just expect people to go away and find out what it is. And my heart was bursting.
Oh,
it was amazing.
That's
it's a great book.
That's great.
Can't wait for you to read it.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it either. Like, I mean, Scotland is so blessed with great authors. Like, we're very, in terms of writers of a world-class stature, we punch well above our weight.
For sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the big things this last wee bit that got me interested was this huge brouhaha doing in England about Dundee's old MP getting chucked off the notes.
Yeah, I saw that. Unfortunately, when it first said ex-Dundee MP, I was thinking, maybe I don't know my Dundee MPs that well.
Yeah, why is Chris Law on the English notes in the first place?
But it was Winston Churchill.
Exactly. So Winston Churchill parachuted into Dundee, believed it's a completely safe seat, and was successfully the MP here for a time, but then got the heave-ho in favour of a prohibitionist. And it was the power of the female vote. So women really didn't go in for Churchill because he didn't respect the suffragettes at all. And the suffragettes, big movement in Dundee. Dundee was, she tune and all that kind of stuff. So many women had come here from Ireland or from the rural areas around about to work in the Industrial Revolution, and the suffragette movement was really gaining momentum. Churchill was having none of it, whereas Scrimgeour, the prohibitionist candidate, he spoke directly to women because women understood how much men getting blutered was ruining their lives.
Wow.
And so
that's what he stood on. And that's what he was elected on. That was
Absolutely.
the story.
Prohibition was a big movement in Scotland for a
sure.
time. But what got me thinking about the Churchill thing was the old Scottish money discussion. Like, how come we have our own notes? And they're like, they're worth the same, but it's that thing that we always know, there's that, it's legal tender, Scottish folk going down the road, we always come back with anecdotes about, I couldn't spend my money in X location. And so I got looking, and actually it turns out Scotland's history of banknotes is way more interesting than you might first think. So a few innovations, if I can thrill you. So first of all, we always had the Bank of Scotland, right?
Okay.
And they were early on to getting kind of big credit notes in the 1700s. But then the Royal Bank of Scotland was launched in 1727. And get this, the Royal Bank of Scotland was only launched because the Bank of Scotland was seen as too Jacobite. So the Bank of Scotland was basically helping Jacobites, like, sort of raise their funds. It was providing kind of finance services for the Jacobites. So the kind of royalists in Scotland opened their own bank. So I think it tells you a lot about your political opinions about who you'd have supported in the 1700s,
wow,
who you bank with today. But so the Royal Bank of Scotland was launched for that. And they're the first people in the world, I think, to put a portrait on their notes.
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, who was the first, like, was there a first person on a banknote?
Yeah, exactly.
We know who's on it these days.
Yeah.
But who was on it kind of originally, I guess?
Well, that's it. The tradition of English notes, anyway, of having kings and things came from Scotland. So the Royal Bank of Scotland put the king's portrait on their notes. And it wasn't, obviously they chose the king potentially because of their royalist sympathies, but also it was to stop forgery. Humans are really good at knowing what a face should look like. It's just part of our evolutionary makeup. Like, you can look at a face and know, that's him. And if you turned up here with a black eye, I'd really notice the difference. You know, we're good at reading faces. And everyone knew what the king's portrait looked like. And so if they used the official king's portrait on the notes and a forger tried to do a similar note and didn't quite get the face right, we'd notice. So that's where the tradition of famous faces on notes came from. Obviously, we have more advanced anti-forgery techniques now, so you don't need that.
Because Walter Scott was he's been the face of banknotes for a long time as well, though.
Big Walter Scott, deservedly so.
Okay.
So Walter Scott is on loads of the Scottish banknotes and has been since the very early days, since the 1800s. And the reason for that was he launched a campaign to save Scottish banknotes. So effectively, in the 1800s, there was a banking crisis in England, right? And they had loads of credit problems, banks were collapsing. And so down in Westminster, they said, we need to stop small denominations of notes being printed by all these regional banks. And they were going to apply that law to Scotland as well. So Walter Scott realised that in Scotland we used loads of the small notes and our banks weren't failing. Our banks were providing credit services into really rural Scotland, firing the agricultural revolution, firing the industrial revolution, and helping growth and stability in the rural areas. So when I first read about it, I read that he wrote letters to editors of newspapers, right? Classic Sir Walter Scott. No, he didn't. He wrote a 70-page essay.
The dream.
70 pages. And it's like a long prose experiment to the editors. And I sat and read through it, and it's full of really subtle argumentation about, but what it boils down to is he was saying, after the Acts of Union, England agreed that they would only pass laws that affected Scotland if they were to the benefit of Scotland. This does not benefit us. We use all our small banks. We use all our small bills. They're an important part of our distinction. And he had this great line, which was, you wouldn't have tried this 50 years ago when we were all armed to the teeth. Like, I'm paraphrasing there, but he's basically saying, back when the Jacobites were out, you wouldn't dare to take our money. And so he got on the notes because he defended those small bills. He's made a rod for our own back these days because we still have all these notes that aren't as widely recognised. And I found out too, it's not legal tender.
Yeah, I read that, but that's a wee anomaly, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's more terminology maybe than anything.
But the fact that we've been bleating on about it's legal tender, pal, for literally decades, and it isn't. So it's perfectly legal currency. It's perfectly allowed to be used, but there's no obligation for folk to accept it anywhere.
I know.
And we've actually tried twice. 2 different Scottish MPs in 2009.
Have they?
And then again more recently have tried to get laws passed doing at Westminster, forcing English shops to accept our money. And both times have been rejected.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't get as angry as I do then.
No. Absolute fury. But then we also have to be hypocrites about it. For the once in a blue moon that you get handed a Northern Irish note, we've also got to go, hey, what's this?
I know,
I don't accept this.
To be fair, and because as well, there's been so many changes of who's been on the notes over the years, not just people, but landscapes and characters. Is there any in kind of recent history that you were super proud of seeing get on the notes?
For me, like the blue fiver with Nan Shepherd on it is just stunning. And what I like most about it is the fact that it went to public consultation and folk came back with what they wanted was, the languages, the landscapes and the people. And so Nan Shepherd represents that. So just in case anyone's not aware, I think 1920s, 1930s, 1940s was her key output era. She's fae Aberdeen, fae cults, and she spent her young life out in the Cairngorms, walking, tramping, and her work is a kind of a turning away from the industrialised war of the time and a turning towards nature as a place of healing, as a place of self-understanding, as a place of exploration, and her being featured on the notes is that look towards nature that I think we're all doing. There's also on the back is I think mackerel swimming in a lovely little pattern.
Yeah, the fibres are mackerel.
There's Gaelic on it, I believe.
Yeah, I'll have to check it. I'm sure you've got more money in your pocket than I do.
I only carry 50s. I only carry 50s.
Well, the 50s, Flora Stevenson's on the 50s. You probably know her very well. But I do love the fact I think when I see, you're on Instagram or social media and somebody comes to the country and they're looking at our notes, even though I hope they will look into who Nan Shepherd was or who Mary Somerville was, but they always turn the note over and people love the fact that we've got the animals.
Oh, well, the otters.
The otters are beautiful.
No, the otters, the squirrels, no, I think hyper cute. And we are in this era where the cash is less common. Like it's more an artistic and an expressive space. Like it's a place to go and, for us as a nation to go and say, here's what we are thinking the now. Because really, going into digital currency, cash matters a lot less, and I think it's a space for us to express ourselves. And yeah, I'm absolutely delighted that Winston Churchill got the heave-ho for the banknotes only 100 years after he got the heave-ho out of Dundee.
I think probably my favourite, if I think about it, might be, I think it's Robert the Bruce on the front of it, but it's St Kilda on the back. And I think, although I could be wrong here, it might be the first time a Hebridean landscape was on a banknote.
That's very cool, actually.
Because a lot of people will have the Bank of Scotland debit cards with the Coinneach stones. And I always smile when I see those. But to see any Hebridean connection, of course, I completely love.
And I think St Kilda is so cool. It's a good way of expressing nationhood, isn't it? Like it is. I still think it's a quirk. It's not a unique quirk in the world, but it's very rare that we still have Clydesdale Bank notes being printed, but the Clydesdale Bank doesn't exist anymore.
That is a good point.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So if you've missed it, Virgin Money bought Clydesdale Bank and shut down that kind of the brand name, but they're still allowed to print money under the Clydesdale Bank name. So we have like a ghost bank producing cash. It's not. I did have a Google. It's not completely unique in the world. There's a couple others, but it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare.
Well, probably my favourite story about banknotes was there was this gentleman from Lewis. His name was Stuart Mackenzie. And,
one of 15,000 Stuart Mackenzie from Lewis.
And he had requested for the Bank of Scotland to open a branch in Stornoway. Now, I think there was some self-need here because he was in a lot of debt and he wanted to take out a loan.
Right.
And there was nowhere on the island to take out a loan. So he thought, well, if a bank comes to the island, maybe I can get some money. Bank of Scotland said, nah, you're okay. So he sort of took it into his own hands, which actually it wasn't as rare as you think. So he started to create his own money.
Right.
And it was called I think it was the Stornoway £1 note. Although in those days, there's a bit of an anomaly where if you ever see one, because there is one up on quite a big auction site at the moment, the bid-ins at around $350 if anybody's interested. And it's called a Stornoway £1 note, the A rather than the O. And first I thought, surely Stuart not only was in debt, but also couldn't spell where he was from. But seemingly in those days, actually, Stornoway, you could use both. And he just literally wrote them out and he says, I will pay the bearer £1. But even though this was relatively legal in those days, you needed to prove that you had the coins to pay it. And he went, Actually, no, I don't. So he had made 1,000 of these £1 notes. I mean, pretty clever thing to do.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they weren't successful. But I think I am tempted to bid for that Stornoway £1 note on that auction.
I like that, but you do like, so I think it's in Bristol. They have the Bristol pound.
Oh, really?
And the whole idea is, I think it's public servants and things get a wee bonus every month, or they got a little pay increase, and they get paid in Bristol pounds, which are only spendable in businesses that agree to take them. And the whole idea is it keeps currency in the country. It keeps currency in the region, rather.
Yeah.
And you can only spend it at places that keep the money local, and loads of other places internationally are looking at that as a model. Like the idea of like a Dundee pound or a Stornoway pound is actually coming back, because it'd be our way of supporting local business, making sure that money stays in the area. And it has that, all money just needs agreed value. And if we all just agree that it's of a set value, then
yeah, true.
is.
I mean, I love cash. I love, I'll open a drawer and I'll find a Ghanaian note or a note from a different country. It's a kind of thing that reminds you of where you've been. But as you said yourself, money or cash is coming out of favour a wee bit.
Yeah.
But if you had the chance, if you were the person that was allowed to choose who was going to go on the next notes, obviously the hosts of This Is Scotland would be
Goes without saying.
going outside ourselves.
Yeah.
But if you had a choice, who would you love to see on the notes?
Well, I think the person I'd most like to put on is my granny. My granny was the nicest woman in the world. She made the finest porridge. She made amazing lentil soup. In the old days, she looked after the budgets of every household. And all we'd do is put my granny on there and then write her up a nice wee Wikipedia page and introduce people to the concept of Scottish grannies. And I think so it would be my granny's face, but it would be the concept of Scottish grannies.
Okay.
And so every time you got the note out, you could just say, that's our granny on there. And it gives you a chance to chat about your grannies, because they were in charge of the household. They held the whole culture together. They brought us down to where we are today. And everyone's got Scottish granny stories. So I think on the Scottish note, my granny specifically, but in a way, all of our grannies.
Well, we could have Super Gran on
on
them as well.
Good shout.
She could be the picture.
She could be the generic gran. Everyone's gran. Yeah, I'm into that. What about yourself?
Do you know what? Even asking the question, I thought you were going to ask me the same back. I would love it to be somebody of kind of Hebridean, but the Hebridean story. So first I was thinking, should it be Callum Kennedy? But I think I would go even further back in time. So the last King of Man, which is what obviously the Hebrides were part of in the Nordic kingdom, was probably, people would say, Olaf the Black. And so I think, even though we maybe don't know exactly what it looks like, I think I would love to be able to say this is the last king of the Hebrides.
If he didn't look like you with bad teeth, I will eat my hat. Like, that is my guess.
That's what I hope as well.
So you'll get on the notes twice. You'll get on as yourself, and then you get on with like a wee helmet.
Black, so a wee Hebridean nod there.
But we won't get a choice about who goes on the notes after this summer. If Steve Clarke helps Scotland win the World Cup, he'll be straight on the notes. And like, the World Cup.
Did you say if or when?
I think if.
Okay.
Like, I'm optimistic.
We're not doing a 1978 here and Ali's Army. We just assumed we were coming back with the World Cup.
No, that's it. Like, so, like, in the back of the Scots magazine, you get all these great sort of one-line facts. And I was reading in the back of one of them, and it was, in 1978, Scotland were third favourites to win the World Cup, which is crazy, given
deservedly so.
Deservedly so. But like that's obviously more your era than mine. What was
what? To be fair, I am a wee bit older than you, but even I would have struggled to remember the 78 World Cup. But it was an iconic World Cup. But just the fact that this summer, everybody, it's one of the most wonderful things ever that we know everybody be watching the television at the same time, even though the Haiti game kicks off at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay up.
Yeah.
Everybody will want to stay up for it.
I'll be setting my alarm. I'll get to bed at my usual 9 p.m. and then I'll get up for it.
So it's exciting that there's those moments in time where people all kind of gather together. And for its faults, football is one of them. No,
I think the fact that we've got to the World Cup is an amazing thing. Like you say, for that cohesion. It gives us an excuse. It gives us something to talk about. It gives us something positive to look towards. And obviously, we've got the bitter recriminations coming after the World Cup when it all falls to bits. But we have this moment now where we're optimistic and we're excited. But like the World Cup is so... I hadn't realised how long it was quite a weird event.
Yeah, actually, you're kind of right, I suppose. Scotland, actually, all the home nations decided to leave FIFA. Right. I mean, they didn't think FIFA were important enough to be a member of FIFA. And that was in the kind of late 20s or so. And even when Scotland qualified for the World Cup in 1950, they decided not to take part because they assumed they should win the home nations tournament, the four nations tournament to qualify. England did, even though second place was also qualification for the World Cup. So they didn't go to the 1950 World Cup. So it was the 1954 World Cup that was our first World Cup. And what a burdock it was. Literally the most... And there's been some calamitous finals for Scotland, but the 1954 one just set the bar for calamity. One thing, though, that was a relatively modern moment for Scotland then was we actually went to the World Cup with a manager. That was a relatively modern phenomenon, certainly for Scotland. Andy Beattie was Scotland's first national coach. He had played at, I think it was Preston North End for most of his career. He was the Huddersfield Town manager at the time. Had a good season. He had taken them up from the second division, playing pretty well. So he became Scotland manager. Lost his first game against England. Not the best start. A few friendlies took them to the World Cup. That's when it sort of all started to go a wee bit wrong. He had selected a squad, I think, of 22 players, was told by FIFA, no, you're only allowed 18. And then the Scottish FA, now I used to work there, so I'm not saying anything too bad about them.
Great bunch of lads.
Great bunch of lads. But they decided, let's not take 18, let's just take 13 players. And if we need any others, it's only Switzerland, we'll just give them a shout and they can come over. We went to the World Cup with the smallest squad, 2 goalies included in the 13 players, and Andy Beattie as manager. We also thought, it's in Switzerland, it's going to be pretty cold. So the kit that was brought over was full wool. It was a full wool, long-sleeved kit. Okay, Tommy Docherty admitted that during the national anthems, he thinks he lost about half a stone. He said it was so blisteringly hot that at half time they had a bath just to cool down. It really was that.
Switzerland's roasting.
It's Switzerland in the summer is absolutely roasting. So as they got on the plane to Switzerland, Andy Beattie was like, hold on, I'm only allowed to take 13 players, but all the Scottish FA officials were allowed to take their wives on the plane. So there was more wives of officials on the plane than actual players. So it didn't start too well. After the national anthems, the first game against Austria, we lost. Austria were a good team, so we lost that game. But unbelievably, what did Andy Beattie do? He didn't say, do you know what, we'll come back fighting against Uruguay. No, he resigned. He resigned after the first game of the World Cup. Only Scotland. He is still the only manager to resign during a World Cup. Come on, that's iconic. That's drama. That is drama. So you think to yourself, who would take over? Ali, who do you think became the new Scotland manager during the World Cup?
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me, thanks. No.
I'm not sure.
Wasn't a player. Because actually there was 2 players that went on to become managers in the future in the squad, including Tommy Docherty. But no, they told the physio to become the manager. So the physio was the manager for the second game. The Scottish FA committee chose the team. They just said, put out the same 11 that lost to Austria. Good strategy. Yeah. So what happened? We lost 7-0 to Uruguay. The other heartbreak for Scotland in that World Cup, it was the first televised World Cup.
Oh, no.
So everybody saw us
no.
losing 7-0 to Uruguay.
In our big woolly jumpers.
In the big woolly jumpers. And I thought to myself, you know when you start to go down wee rabbit holes of stories, I thought, goodness, who was the goalkeeper? To lose 7 goals. And it was the Aberdeen goalie, Fred Martin. Previously, when they signed Fred Martin to Aberdeen, he had come from Carnoustie Panmure.
Oh, the guy first.
Yeah. He was a winger. So Aberdeen bought him as a winger. He then, 3 years later, made his debut for Aberdeen in goal against East Fife.
Oh, no.
And scored an own goal in the last minute to let East Fife win. So obviously from that, you think to yourself, he is the dream goalkeeper for Scotland. Now, he did have a good Aberdeen career. He did. But at the same time, I remember Bob Crancy, Scottish historian and football journalist. He said, when the mood was upon him, he could be very good. But at other times, played exactly as you would expect a winger to play if he was shoved in goals.
Oh, because wingers generally are pretty titchy. Like they're generally at the smaller end. But this is terrible news. So I've got to take the news back to Angus that one of our own, Faye Carnoustie, lost that's the most goals anyone's lost. 7.
No. There's been a few pretty big ones since then. Didn't Hungary beat El Salvador 10-1 in the 82 World Cup. So there's been some big ones. And
we're not the worst.
We're not the worst. We were the second worst in 1954. South Korea, I think, lost 9-0 to West Germany in that one. But I have to say, though, there is one man, just one Scottish man who came out of that World Cup with any credit.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a player. He wasn't the physio. It was a referee.
Right.
Scotland had one referee. He had the best name in the world. The Scottish referee called Charlie Faultless. Mr. Faultless, the referee.
Faultless.
What a name.
It's a curious name.
A fascinating name. He had been a player. I think he played for Morton, a couple of other clubs, broke his leg, decided to become a referee. And he refereed probably one of the most iconic matches ever. World Cup 1954, the biggest ever scoring World Cup game in history.
Right.
Austria 7, Switzerland 5 was refereed by our Charlie Faultless from Brigton in Glasgow.
Oh, no
so
way.
he came out of it actually, doing pretty well. He was a clothes salesman. He would travel around Scotland selling garments and clothes. So, he became the star.
Good
for old
Faultless.
Charlie.
And for the World Cup, for this World Cup that's upcoming, which is obviously so exciting, what do you think success looks like? Because obviously it's no like the old days where we're genuinely expecting us to go there and dominate. Like the success, if there was any success to take for the Euros, is the fact that 200,000 Scottish people went there and Germany fell in love with the Tartan Army all over again.
Always.
And it was I was out having pints in the middle of Munich, and there was literally like 200,000 Scots there, and it was just like, oh, I ken you from high school. And then John Swinney wanders past with a pint, and it's like everyone is out and about, and everyone is in such a good mood. The Germans were loving it, and the warmth that generated within Germany, within Europe, and also within Scotland, that we realised that we can go, 250,000 us can go and actually pretty much behave ourselves immaculately and be a credit to the nation. That was what came out of the Euros for me as a success. Yeah. The football was stinking.
It was. And I'm intrigued by this World Cup. We've got a very challenging group. But there's one thing personally I'm very excited about to see. The fact that not only the players, but the fans will be wearing something that is very close to my heart.
It's a pun, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pun. Get this. So I got told this. You told me this when we were hanging out recently, and I couldn't believe it. But the thing is, I've told other people this since you told me it, and nobody believes me. So go on. What's your pitch? And then we'll fact check it.
Okay. So I joined the Scottish FA in 2010. My job as part of the commercial team was to look at the Scottish national team, make it feel more commercial, more modern, And can you remember what the badge looked like? It was the shield device that had the scroll. Scottish,
it's like clip art. It was like a little.
It
little
looked like
shield,
clip art,
and then had like little sort of
the scroll
ye
around
olde
it.
Scroll.
Yeah,
hear ye. Yeah. Sure.
So that's what it was when I joined the Scottish FA. I went to the board and I said, I'd like to change the brand of the Scottish FA. I mean, there was gasps. But they agreed to look at it. And then I worked with this amazing agency and Adidas to come up with a new design of the Scottish FA and Scotland badge. And so what you see on the Scotland kit now is the badge that I designed.
So I'm picturing it's a big circle now.
It's a big circle. So we took inspiration from the 78 World Cup. Yeah. So, but it still has the shield inside it. So it's still the line rampant, still the 11 thistles representing the players. We took away the kind of more dated scroll from it, and the big change was the word mark. We were called the Scotland team, the badge that Scotland players were kissing when they scored a goal said the Scottish Football Association.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we changed it just to the word Scotland. So it's the word Scotland that appears on the kit, and it's really hard not to, when I walk past somebody wearing a Scotland kit, to go, I was me that did that. Mad,
though? The Hebridean Baker designed the Scotland logo. I think that is it's one of the proofs that Scotland is tiny. Everything is interconnected.
No, it is. It is random.
I think listeners will take away that little fact. They might take away a couple of stories like Faultless being the referee and things, but they'll definitely take away the fact when they're sitting with their pals watching the game. You know that badge? I see that badge. It's that Baker guy off Instagram. He did that.
But also with Adidas is the fact that we designed the kits together as well. So I designed 4 Scotland kits.
Nice.
My favourite, which again was a wee bit Marmite, and I'm sorry to tell you, but I did bring the hoops from Celtic to Scotland, and people didn't even notice. But the hooped yellow, pink, and white kit, the away kit, that was my fault, but it became Scotland's best-selling ever away kit.
That's it.
So
that's it. It's a break with tradition. I thought, at the time, I was like, I can't wear that. I can't wear that. But a lot of people do, and you still see it at all the games.
I see it a lot.
Yeah, it's still about. So
I feel that the Scotland team, when they walk out for that game against Haiti, they'll all be thinking of me. You know,
I'm surprised you put a 12th thistle in the badge for you, because really,
when Scon McTominay stands there, John
just call him Scon McTominay. You got Bacon on the mind.
Scott. His middle name's Scon.
Yeah.
Scon McTominay.
Yeah, sure.
Stands up there. He'd be thinking, I've got to do this for the Hebridean Baker.
Yeah, I think we'd do better at this tournament if we had Barry Bannock on the wing.
That is a whole podcast in itself.
We can't just sit here punning names. What a hoot, man! What a hoot! I can't wait for the World Cup. I'll be thinking about you and your badge, and I just will be praying for Scotland just to get past the first round. That's all I ask.
100%. Victory against Haiti, then we're on our way.
That's
on our way. Yeah. So actually, I wonder. You talked about this. Thinking about 78 and the fact that we thought we could win the World Cup. But at home or when visitors come, there are a lot of misconceptions, I guess, or myths about Scotland, isn't there? There's a lot of people who think when they arrive in Scotland they know us well, or they believe things that they've read. Is there some of these that you would like to absolutely smash, or is there some that you actually think, they're kind of right?
They're bang on. So there's a few. I mean, I was in Stirling train station. I was just changing trains. I can't remember where I was going, but I was doing Stirling train station Wednesday morning about 10 o'clock, and there's 2 lovely Floridian ladies there who just finished their holidays. They're heading back to the airport, and I was just chatting away to them. I think I gave them a biscuit. I got a big packet of biscuits. I gave them a biscuit. I can only presume it was a Hebridean Baker shortbread.
I thank you.
I can only presume. And they said, "Wow, what great shortbread!" And we got chatting. And they said, "Hey, can I ask you something?" I was like, "Yeah, of course."
Where are they from? Did you say?
Wherever this accent's from is where they're from. I was like, "Can I ask you something?" I was like, "Why is nobody wearing kilts? Do you not wear kilts?" And I was like, it's like 11 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. I was like, we do wear kilts.
We do.
I love it. But it's that misconception about where kilts are appropriate and where they're not appropriate and the environment you'd wear them in. So like, I was just explaining, like, I've got 2 kilts. I've got like my family tartan kilt that I inherited from a beloved relative who passed away, and it was handmade in the 1940s in Perth. And like, I've updated that with new sporran and thing, but the kilt is the family tartan, and that's come down. And I'll wear that for events where you're representing the family and where it's of real significance. I've then got my kind of boozing kilt that you'll put that on if you're off the way to the rugby, if you're away to the football, and you're kind of representing Scotland in a fun way. Or if you're going to a ceilidh, say you're just going to a good like rural ceilidh, and there's a good chance that somebody's going to spill lager on it, or you might have to end up sleeping in a bush. Like, so I've got the 2 kilts, and I was like, you absolutely do. Loads of Scottish people wear kilts. They're very normal.
100%.
You'll see folk bopping about in kilts all the time. But is it like, so for me, like on the East Coast, weddings, absolutely. Formal dress events, absolutely. Football and rugby, and a ceilidh.
Yeah.
That's your kilt.
Yeah, that's,
Where would you?
I would agree. I was thinking when you were talking about that, about Billy Connolly. I remember an interview with him, and he was talking maybe about the kind of late 70s, early 80s, that you just didn't see, even at weddings. If you look at wedding photo, I look at my parents' wedding photo, my father wasn't wearing a kilt. It just wasn't a thing, 50s, 60s, 70s. And he talked about that would have seemed ridiculous or old-fashioned or whatever. But now, could you imagine going to a Scottish wedding and not seeing a kilt? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. But not in living history, that was not a thing.
Well, certainly in Glasgow, Billy Connolly was saying, like, as a wee boy, he'd chase kilt wearers down the street saying, "Kilty, kilty, called bum." But so I think the kilts have moved in and out of fashion, and a big part of it was their adoption in the British military, and it was quite a militaristic thing to be wearing a kilt. Whereas I think that's been reclaimed. It's much more of a populist thing. And also, it's just, you can afford them now.
Yeah, true. True. I love wearing my kilt. Did you say you have 2?
Yes.
I have 11.
That's too many. That's simply too many. The sizey as well.
I have my
the amount of fabric we're talking about here.
I have my own kilt wardrobe at the house. Well, I'm a MacLeod, so we have a number of MacLeod tartans, MacLeod of Lewis, which of course many people know as the loud MacLeod, or MacLeod of Harris, MacLeod of Rassay, so I can kind of be diverse in my island MacLeod kilt wearing. But I love wearing it. I love, I should say, being able to dress it down, dress it up. But you're right. I think people do expect to see some on their journey.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to feel a twee thing. I do want it to feel like a natural thing. And I think compared to many countries, we wear our national dress in more situations than most. I love going to Norway, National Day, Independence Day in Norway. They're all in their beautiful national dress. And I love that, but maybe not so commonly seen at other times of year.
Yes.
I just say, going to a wedding, going to the pub, for the rugby, you will see a whole pub full of kilts. Totally. So I think we wear our national dress maybe more than most countries do.
Well, this is my big opinion, that the kilt is still alive. It's still a dynamic thing, and it changes all the time. Like when you look at like kilt hire places, when you look at like the jacket changes, there's new designs all the time. There's different types of sporran. There's different occasions where you wear it. Over the last 400 years, the situations in which kilts are used and worn has constantly varied. So it's still alive. A lot of the national dresses, and not naming any names, but a lot of national dresses are a dead thing, preserved from peasant culture of the late 1800s, when the Victorians romanticised the peasant life as the true culture of the nation. We've not done that. Ours is a living thing that we keep developing onwards. So yeah, I think that's the core difference, and I think it's basically class, because I'm no as fashionable as somebody like yourself. I didn't have 11 kilts. If I need to look smashing, I think, well, I'll just get the kilt on.
Yeah. Isn't the best black tie?
Looking at the rest of you, like, that's an amazing kilt. Like, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're totally, totally right. Now, here's another wee myth buster here.
Yeah, please.
Let's do a bit of a West versus East thing here. A lot of people will come to visit Scotland, and I'll get a lot of people say, I'll say, where did you go? And they go, I went to Edinburgh. Oh, nice. Did you go to Glasgow? And they go, oh, no, I heard bad things. I heard it's industrial. I heard it's dangerous and all this kind of stuff. I love Glasgow. I went to university in Glasgow, so I know it really, really well. And I think Glasgow is beautiful city. So where does this come from? And certainly in modern times, I think Glasgow is a stunning architecture, great storylines, a green city, great nights out, great for sport, great for everything. So why is this perception of the two cities that you visit Edinburgh rather than Glasgow?
So I think there's an element of fairness to it, because think about arriving in Edinburgh, you arrive at Waverley and you're bang in the middle of the old town, and it's a 45-minute walk, and you can see so much really remarkable stuff, like really remarkable. Like the castle, we are inured to almost, because we see it so often, and we're like bopping about for meetings in this location. But it is the most amazing looking city in the world. And then you got the new town, and Edinburgh is just crammed with amazing, really significant stuff. Glasgow,
Disney for Scotland.
Disney for Scotland. And to be honest, Glasgow Disney Day it for me. Glasgow is quite rightly known in Europe. Like it was the sick man of Europe, The life expectancy was so low, the deindustrialization. Glasgow was so famous. Like Nelson Mandela talked about Glasgow being this place of international repute, that when Glasgow gave him freedom of the city while he was still in jail, it gave him this huge boost to think that people in the famous city of Glasgow were thinking of him. Amazing. Yeah. Glasgow had that reputation, and the deindustrialization was so profound that I think that sent shockwaves around Europe, and it got that reputation for being a place deindustrialised. The new Glasgow has yet to fully emerge in the public consciousness. I think Glaswegians are still wrestling with their new identity. Like they are so, like the Glaswegian identity is so tied to like the working class, rough experience. That's still what's presented a lot in popular culture. And yeah, when I do bring visitors on my tours to Glasgow, it's easy to plan an amazing day. There's so much great stuff. And I think that Glasgow, what it offers over every other city in Scotland, is it's so fun, so friendly, the people are just phenomenally class, and the cultural offering and the food offering is amazing.
It's one of those where it nearly feels like two different countries.
Yes.
In its architecture, in its style, in its people. It's sort of, I used to live in Russia, and going from Moscow to St. Petersburg felt the same. Culture, people, so different. And I love the fact that visitors particularly can come to Scotland and 45 minutes away from each other can get two cities that look nothing like each other and give a completely different experience. So the great thing is, Ali, you don't need to choose. You don't need to go, only going to Edinburgh, only going to Glasgow. Go to both and you will have the best time. Different experiences, but the absolute best time. So seeing I'm the West Coaster and you're the East Coaster, what's your one wee secret Edinburgh tip that maybe folk don't know?
Secret wee Edinburgh tip that people don't know. I would say you've got like Edinburgh is really stunning, but just get out of the city centre. I would say if you're a holiday maker or you're a family, then Craigmillar Castle. Just about 4 miles away
from the actual city centre. So what you're saying is the best thing about Edinburgh is getting out of Edinburgh.
No, it's technically in Edinburgh, but Craigmillar Castle is where Mary Queen of Scots stayed. It's this hunting lodge, beautiful views over Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh and all that kind of stuff, but it's nice and quiet. It's got ancient trees. It feels like you're right deep in the countryside. Just phenomenal. You get a different sense of what Edinburgh is and can be. And Cramond. Cramond was like the most advanced the Romans got. It's right on the water. It's got amazing history, beautiful place to walk around. So yeah, I think just get away from the Bank City Centre and check out Craigmillar and Cramond. If people come to the West Coast, people come to Glasgow, secret tips?
Yeah, maybe it's not that secret, but my favourite thing, again going back to where I went to university, Glasgow University, just go in through those beautiful gates.
Yeah.
Up the stairs into what's called the quadrangles. And you think you've just gone into a scene in Harry Potter and Hogwarts. Yeah. It is spectacular. The fact that I walked out of Bute Hall, having graduated, into that beautiful quadrangle, I will walk up there and just reminisce so much about that area. So definitely Glasgow University, and then just stroll through Kelvingrove Park and head to the Park Bar, which is where all the islanders go to for a dram and a pint and some good music at the weekends. So
you're completely right. You're completely right. And just a little tip, by the way. So we're recording this in Dundee, right across from the McManus Art Gallery and Museum. That was the same architect. at the Glasgow University. So I think two of the finest buildings in the whole of Scotland are Glasgow University and the McManus in Dundee. Same architect, same incredible Gothic romance, and they so stand the test of time in terms of the Victorian buildings.
God. So I mean, we could do a whole podcast on these kind of like what people think about Scotland, but I think the best thing is, if you're from Scotland, make sure you visit places you haven't visited before.
Yeah.
I'm doing that a lot with the Inner Hebridean Islands.
Yeah.
Now I'm living in Oban because I'm so used to the Outer Hebrides.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure, Ali, you've got places that you've got on your list to visit over these next few months as well.
100%. I've still never been to Shetland. But what I would say is, just back from Butte, as I was saying, and Butte is so accessible. For Dundee, you can jump on the train and be on Butte in 3.5 hours. So you catch the train straight down to Wemyss Bay, right on the coast, beautiful integrated Victorian station where the train meets the ferry and the ferry waits for the train. On the ferry, half an hour, and then you're on. It's not a Hebridean island, it's a Fàilte Clyde island, but it's an amazingly beautiful island, totally different. So if you're in Glasgow, you're 90 minutes away from being on a beautiful island retreat.
Yeah.
And because Butte's gone off the fashion boil a bit, the hotels are so affordable. So where Sky Hotel might be 400 quid, my Butte hotel was 65 quid a night for like a lovely hotel.
Good to
know. So that's
know.
my big shit. Where are you looking forward to?
So I definitely want to do more Inner Hebridean Islands. I have been to Staffa, but I want to go back. I think Staffa might be my favourite wee day trip to do from the West Coast.
I'm heading there in June.
Are you?
Wait, tickle the puffins.
Please tickle them for me.
I certainly will do.
As well, and sing a wee song in the caves, and think of Mendelssohn and his Hebrides Overture.
Exactly.
It's got, as with most of the islands, just wonderful stories. I want people to experience that, not only the landscapes and the food and all those things, but find out the stories of these places, because that's what you come home with, and that's what you'll want to tell as well.
And that's what I'd love from our lovely listeners, actually, is I'd love to hear your stories and your chat and the things that you're really interested in. So I want to let us know who should go on the next round of Scottish Notes. Like, what are their stories? What are the people you want to see immortalised? What are your recommendations for this whole year? What you're looking forward to? What are the festivals coming up? And we were talking about hidden stuff in Glasgow and Edinburgh that people might not know. What are your east versus west secret spots? So we can explore them and we can share them with all the other listeners.
Absolutely. And make sure you send in your questions for our Q&A podcast as well, coming up in the next couple of days.
Yeah, because if you don't send in questions, we'll have to make them up. Coinneach, why are you so good at baking? Like, we need your help.
Yeah, so send in your questions, because we cannot wait to deep dive into some of these things that you're going to ask. But, well, that's it for this episode of This is Scotland. That's been brilliant, huh?
It's been such good crack, Coinneach. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, okay. Cheery and Rasta.
Cheery and Rasta.